Hi, everybody. Welcome to our another edition of the Women Who Leap um, video series. I'm just so excited to be here today. Listen, we have a lot of amazing things happening. So do me a favor, be sure to like and subscribe and comment below because we have so much great information coming out and you are in for a treat today. So let me just, before we get started, let me just let everyone know what is happening here. So everyone, hi, my name is 𝙩𝙬𝙙𝙀. I'm a leadership and professional development specialist. And my area is I help aerospace and defense companies with strategic leadership so that they can retain and attract high performing STEM women. So we have this whole year in 2024, the mission of the Women Who Leap vlog is pretty simple: to be able to put voices with names and faces that you never get a chance to see so that you can understand the importance of work that women are doing in this field, and to understand that we need to ensure that we have an inclusive, equitable work environment, because we understand that when we don't have that, underrepresented and underserved communities get overlooked. Yes, yes. All right, so
Absolutely.
let's get started. We have someone amazing today. I've had the privilege of knowing her for the last couple of years, so I'm so excited that she's here with us. Trena Lilly. Hi.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you. Very happy to be here.
So Trena, give us a little bit. Can you tell our audience about yourself? What is it that you want the audience to know about you?
Okay, so just a little bit about of my background. So I have an undergrad, a BS in engineering math from North Carolina A&T State University. I have an MBA and a master's in technical management from University of Maryland, and then I have a master's in system engineering from George Washington University. And I've been at John Hopkins Applied Physics Lab for the past 26 years. I joined right after my undergrad degree. So I've been here. I've been doing a number of things, really focused on modeling and simulation, and really trying to grow other people in the STEM field as well. So that's really my passion and what's important to me. And there's a number of ways that I do that. I've also been in leadership for about 16 years now here at APL. I've also been president of the Military Operations Research Society, MORS, and really focused on trying to get sort of younger analysts involved, as well as a more diverse um, people participation for that. And that is an organization that is sponsored by the Department of Defense, all of the services. And they still have some challenges with getting women and minorities involved in a lot of the operations research and system engineering work that we do. So that's sort of a little bit about me, my passion. I also have, family, a husband, and two kids that are very important. They're getting old now. And so it really has been great opportunity to sort of use my experience and try to help others in this field.
I love that. Listen, uh, don't let Trina fool you. Trina is a phenomenal leader, but and also technical expert. So, when I always hear anything dealing with, whenever I think about modeling simulation, Trina's name is always the forefront that comes to my mind. The whole time, where when I was working at APL, all I heard was Trena Lilly, modeling simulation. She's a SME. She's the person that's going to help us get through this. She's leading this effort. So don't let her fool you. She is not saying her accolades, but if you want to, you can always go find out a lot of information about her on LinkedIn. We're going to have that in the comments where you can go and ask. But in addition to that, if you have any questions about being in the STEM field, and wondering how can you even get into it, because she mentioned that this is her passion, make sure that you reach out to her. Do not be shy. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to just go dive into it. Who are three people who have influenced you in your life?
Absolutely. So number one, I would definitely have to say my mother, Eileen Covington. She was a educator and athletic director for like 35 years in the DC public school. And, in addition to being the first role model and woman I know as well, her work ethic was just undeniably amazing. And I think I get a lot of that from her. She certainly was very committed and dedicated to her students and trying to, find opportunities for them. And so that example certainly lives with me, as I continue to grow and develop. The second person I would say is, you may know Dave Underhill. He was a supervisor here at APL, and really a great mentor to a lot of staff here at APL. He's since retired from APL, but his influence sticks for me till this day because he was always someone to challenge you to step out of your comfort zone. And I don't think that I would have been encouraged to take the opportunities that I had to lead me to where I am if it wasn't for him. Um, he just wouldn't let you be comfortable. He always encouraged you and challenged you to take on something new. And so I've certainly learned that lesson from him, and I try to do the same for staff that I work with as well. And then I would have to say the last one is Danielle Hilliard, who you already know. She has been a phenomenal mentor. But the thing that really was impactful about her and still is that she's constantly seeking new opportunities. She's never like comfortable where she is. She's always looking for what's the next step. What else can I do? And continuing to learn and grow. And so that example is one that I sort of aspired. I don't always do that, but I wish I did. And so she is an inspiration. So I would have to say those three.
Wow, listen, those are some heavy hitters. Okay, so are you originally from Maryland or DC?
I am originally from Maryland, Landover, Maryland.
Okay,
Yeah.
because and then mom worked in the DC public schools.
Yes.
Wow, wow. I didn't know you were from Maryland.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I only
you've been
left to
here
go to A&T and then came back.
and you came back. Okay. So when you went to work at APL, did they come down there and recruit you? Like, how did you even know about them?
Yeah, had never I've always lived in Maryland, had never heard of APL, and I met Gwen Boyd. I'm not sure if you know her,
Yes.
at a A&T career fair, and so she
Oh,
recruited me, and it just worked out extremely well. But I had never heard of APL before then.
I love small world.
Mhm.
This is why it's
Absolutely.
important to have representation.
Yep.
That's why it's important to have that because she came there. If you don't know Gwen Boy, you guys got to research her. She's phenomenal.
Oh yes,
But
absolutely.
I loved it. I didn't know that. I didn't know she recruited you.
Hmm. Yeah, and we're both deltas too, so it just happened to be.
I wonder how many other people did she recruit during
I
that
I don't
time that
know.
came to APL. I bet it
It
was a
it
lot
might
of
be quite a number because she also started the Atlas program, which is the focused on HBCUs and HSIs and sort of that pipeline to bring people into APL. So if you count that, I'm sure the number is pretty significant.
wow. Okay, so how did you discover your passion for engineering? Because everyone has it was something like what made you say, "Yep, you know what? I'm going to study engineering in college."
Yeah, so my path might be a little bit different than others. So I was always really good in math and science and did a lot of competitions in high school, physics based, but I honestly did not have any engineers that I knew. So when
Mhm.
I went to A&T, I was an accountant major.
Shut up.
Yes, yeah, I was an accountant major and I remember math for like for non-business majors or something like that. And it was just so easy. I think it was a calculus for like majors for business majors or something. And the professor was like, "What are you doing in here? Like, what's going on? Why are you in here?" I was like kind of correcting some of the stuff that she was doing, and if it wasn't for her, Dr. Janice Odom, like I don't think I would be an engineer. And
Really?
she literally said, "I need you to meet with the dean. I need you to really talk about like why are you in accounting? You could really make an impact in, math, engineering, one of the STEMs." And I was like, it just seemed very intimidating to go into one of those majors. But they stayed at it. They even offered me, they were like, "Oh, we could give you some money, scholarship, like just think about it." And that's really how I always liked it. I didn't really understand and didn't know enough. So that's why representation is very important, and those role models and really getting to the students early is extremely helpful, because I just didn't have that. And I've not regretted it. Not, well, I would say some of the classes, but it has been sort of the biggest thing I'm thankful for, especially at A&T, that someone noticed and
Wow.
really took an interest in that. So it's been great.
What was one moment throughout your career that you were like, oh, I'm so glad I'm an engineer?
Oh, that's a good one. So I would say um, I worked on a analysis of alternatives for a next generation weapon, and several years after that, everything had been decided, and I kind of moved on. And one of the PMs contacted me and was like, "They made a decision on what this thing would be. This is what it's going to be. This is the contractor, and it's actually something that's in existence right now." And so from seeing that, from like the idea, the concept, being involved in the analysis, being involved in sort of the source selection, till, several years later, and seeing it actually, you know, come into existence and be built, I was like, this is it. Like, this is really the impact
That
that
was
you
it.
really want to have. And so
Mhm.
it was just, that's like one of the moments that it was really, really amazing to be an engineer and be a part of that. So,
For when I first started out at Raytheon and I was working on a production floor for the AMRAAM missile, I'll never forget this. So again, right, this is like early 2000s. And when you go in, they have like the hazard signs, like red, and I never forget, he was like, so Uche, uh, yellow meant a pinky. I can't remember. Um, uh, yeah, orange meant a hand. And I was just like, this, what would you have? What here? But when I got on that production floor, I said, oh my gosh, I'm so happy I'm an engineer.
right,
This
right.
is so awesome
Yeah,
because you don't know, right? You have never
absolutely.
seen, for me, I had never seen
Right.
anything like that before. And seeing how we were keeping our nation safe, the actual products, I was like, wow,
Yeah,
this is awesome.
it's
It
awesome.
feels good to be an engineer. And
Yeah.
and I don't know about you, did you, when you came home, could you ever explain to people what you did? Because I couldn't.
No, no, I still can't. It's like so high level, they could never understand. But I definitely think it's really rewarding. But yeah, I wish I could explain, but I just
No.
don't know.
Well, I was there. I used to say, if I tell you I have to kill you, and that was like, and I was like, I don't even know where that came from, but that's just what they told me to say. So,
Right, right, exactly. Like, oh, we
or
keep the
some people
nation
like, Uche,
safe.
you ain't got no job like Tom,
Right, exactly. You're like the Tommy and Martin.
because you can't say what you do.
You
And
can't
I
say it
get it.
right.
It was because other people that were engineers, especially if they worked at the automobile company, they're like, oh, well,
Right.
we're building this part of chassis, we're doing this. And then I'm like, you ain't got no job.
That's all you do. Like, yeah. So,
So I
no, it's
love that. So,
yeah,
when you talked about representation matters and the fact that the teacher at your university recognized
right.
that you had a gift and questioned and saw you, what advice would you give anyone who is interested in engineering?
Yeah.
Um, if to see if like, what advice would you give them? Like, I think I want to do engineering,
Mhm.
but I'm not sure. What advice would you give them?
I would say definitely research different types. There's a broad range of engineering and way and paths that you can pursue. Um, I would definitely say try to seek out other engineers and just talk to them about what they do and what work that they do, um, and really try to explore what is it that you are interested in doing, and then kind of see how that applies to different disciplines in engineering. But I definitely would encourage everyone to kind of look into it and see. It may not be for everyone, but it is such a broad area and so many applications and things that And we just need more engineers and more people in STEM. So
We do. We
yeah,
do.
so I'll definitely say research, seek out mentors. If they're listening to this, contact us. We can tell them a lot about, our careers and things that we do. But it is very, very rewarding to do that.
So, what advice would you give someone like you who was starting out, right, in their career engineering field, and they are trying to figure out how to traverse their career? What are some, and let's just say early career, we'll just target early career. What are some simple advice that you would give them in the first 5 years of being an engineer?
I definitely would say that mentorship and that network of support is extremely important, especially in your first years, well, all throughout your career, but especially in the first few years where you may have challenges, you may wonder if this is for you. I would say definitely look at different paths and see, because every path may not be yours, but there still may be a path for you. And so just kind of do the research, reach out to different people, and just stay the course. If you have an interest, don't let anyone discourage you from your path, is what I would say. And like I said, it is going to be challenges. It won't be easy, but I think it's worth it, if this is something that you want to do.
So for women um, who are in the minority in this particular space, what advice would you give them if they're feeling like maybe afraid to
Absolutely.
seek mentorship because they're like, I don't know what they're going to say. I don't see anyone like me,
Yeah.
or, that it doesn't seem as if I don't feel like I don't feel like the environment is, I don't feel like I'm comfortable enough to ask for help.
Right. Right. Yeah, and that's where I was saying, like, sometimes there may not be a path like in your organization. You may look at like professional societies. That might be a good way to get that network and that support system. Kind of, look on LinkedIn and see if there are people that potentially may have either worked there or similar companies. But I do think, trying to go at it alone is just a lonely path and could be discouraging. So I really think that network and finding people, um, that can sort of, share in your experiences or either tell you kind of how they navigated it, is extremely helpful and very important. Um, and again, I mean, just trying to find that the representation to have mentors. I would say seek out mentors, but sometimes if you're the only one, it's really, really tough. The other thing I would say is, sometimes you might be surprised at who will be an advocate for you. Sometimes they may not look like you. Like I said, Dave Underhill, you know, older white male, definitely didn't look like me, but he was probably the biggest advocate I've ever had throughout my career. And so, sort of, if you have people that would advocate for you or you think would be good mentors, just try to establish that relationship and really see, what that's like. But yeah, I think
That's
that's really
great
important.
advice in terms of the associations. So they have so many associations for engineers. That is great advice. Seek out one of those. They have affinity level associations, organizations that's what they primarily do. And as Trena has said, just don't be afraid to ask, because the last thing is if you don't ask, you would never know. So, you just want to make sure you ask, and at least that way you can say, all right, I did that. That didn't work. Now let me go move on to the
Right.
next thing.
Exactly.
All of those classes that you took for engineering, process of elimination, it all worked. Same thing you got to do in the workplace. You
right.
got to test everything out and see which one works. Don't feel like it's just a one and done thing. So that's good advice. I didn't think about that, but the associations are very good. And take it even a step further. If you are in college, join the associations while you're in college,
Absolutely.
because from a collegiate standpoint, you are able to solidify relationships and to start building networks at an early. And then, too, if you need to go back and ask your teachers, do that too,
Do that too. Absolutely.
as
Yep.
well. All right. So Here's a big issue in terms of leadership, engineering leadership, women engineering leadership, the topic of burnout.
Yes.
Burnout is real.
Very
And
real.
oftentimes I feel that people forget about the leaders being burnt out because the leaders are worried about everyone else, their teammates or team members.
Yes.
What strategies do you recommend for reducing burnout?
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, it's easy to say, but I would say definitely take care of yourself first. And it's hard to say, and I know I've had experience with that too. But it really is important that your mental, your health, everything is important. And we tend to always kind of put other people first. Um, so I think you kind of come to a point where you start to realize what's important and prioritize yourself, hopefully, first. So I think that's very important. If you need to take mental health days, that's perfectly valid. I highly encourage that, to do that, especially when you're feeling like, you need some time, you need that, that space, then certainly recognize that and take care of yourself. I would say also, really try to find things to take your mind off work, whether it's socializing with other people outside of work, or trying to find different hobbies to do. I think that's also very important to get sort of that balance between work and home. You don't always want to be thinking about work, and so it's really important to find other things that can take your mind off of it just for a little bit of, and it's those distractions are important. So that's some of the things that I sort of recommend. I am very guilty of being at, working through at night and something on my mind, I just want to get it done. But the problem is it takes away from family time and it takes away from all the other things. And so I really have to force myself to, put my work phone down and not log into email and all of that. And I think it took time to really get into the habit of saying, nope, I'm done. Let me put this down. I'm not going to check until Sunday night and see what the week looks like. But you really have to create that habit to do that. And so it does take time.
You know, if you're like, how do I know if I'm burnt out? If you're waking up middle of the night saying, "Oh my God, did I send that email?"
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
That's a sign
Yeah,
that like, okay, I gotta chill out. Something has to change because your health is at risk.
absolutely.
Because you can't even have peace in your sleep.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's and they have a lot of articles on this as well, but you need to make sure that you really take care of yourself. And like you said, it's easier said than done.
absolutely.
And those strategies that Trina mentioned, they may seem trivial, but they are instrumental in putting down that phone, not checking it till Sunday, being present in the moment when you're with family, because we can't get that time back. So that's good. That's good. Okay, so what are two mistakes you see early career engineers make? Because I know I made all of them.
I've made all of them too. So as I mentioned, I currently work with a lot of early career staff now.
Yes.
So what I kind of see now is sort of I would say, I guess I would sort of phrase it as maybe not taking advantage of opportunities. So I think what I see is a lot of early career engineers come in and they're like, I want to do this thing and specifically this thing. And it's like, okay, well, what about this? This might be interesting. You don't even know about this. Like, take the opportunity to learn. You could surprise yourself. It could be something you hadn't heard of. Um, like, really trying to get some broad exposure to different things, especially early in your career. You don't have to be focused on one area to do that. So, really just being open to learning new things and taking advantage of opportunities, I think is what I would say I see a lot of for that.
So
Um,
well, let me ask you this. So you are working, I guess you're what, Gen Z now, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, what's the difference? So I'm asking this because my son is a Gen Zer,
Right.
and what I have been finding out is that um things that normally come easy, that he's now like, oh, this isn't easy anymore. So when he gets into it, it seems like, in my opinion, there's a disconnect when he's working. It's a disconnect. Like, I don't know. I think he feels that he has choices or not being consistent. You know what I mean? Like, is
Right.
that you got to show up on time today? Okay, I'll be a couple minutes late. It's
Right.
cool, mom. It's cool.
Yeah.
And what I'm, and I guess,
Right.
is that what is, do you see that, I guess, in terms of just, from our generation
Absolutely.
to millennials to Gen Z, what is for you, in your opinion, the biggest difference between?
I would say also, I think that's part of it too. I don't know how to class, like, I don't want to say the lack of professionalism because that's not fair. I want to say like maybe a maybe a disregard for some of the like rules. Like they always think they
Yeah,
can get away with
yeah, yeah, yeah.
skirt around the rules, and um so I see that a lot, and I don't know if it has anything to do with like COVID, where things were just relaxed and it's just a different
Yes,
atmosphere. But I see that a lot, um, and we do have a lot of performance coaching. We do have a lot of mentorship where we're trying to say, these are the expectations. You need to meet the expectations, and just really trying to reinforce that because impressions do matter. We have had someone show up in, shorts the first day of work.
yes. No, that's true. Yes, yes.
Yeah, like, no, don't
What do you think
don't.
the workplace needs to shift to match the current
I so
in current
I
people
don't
coming in?
I don't think so per se. I do think the workplace has relaxed a lot from when I started to now. It's much more sort of business casual, I would say. Um, but I don't think it needs to relax to the point where it's casual.
Right.
Like,
Mhm.
I think, you need to definitely show up with some level of professionalism, with some expectations, with something. And sometimes whether you know it or not, you don't know who you're going to run into. And so those impressions, it shouldn't matter with your technical work, but sometimes it really does. And I think especially for underrepresented minorities, like how you show up and how you're perceived is sometimes very important. It shouldn't be, but I still think it's important.
No, that's a good point because that's the thing. That's old school. That doesn't happen anymore, right? That's
Right.
I'm just saying this is what I'm hearing. Like,
Right.
that's old school. You're exaggerating.
Right.
It's good. I'm okay. And I'm like, this is not the real world. And that's a question that I was wondering, like, is the environment going to change to accommodate the this new generation who did have such it was such the pandemic was a lot,
It
and
was.
things,
Yeah.
everyone had to be modular, everyone had to
Yep.
accommodate that. In some aspect, that still exists,
Oh,
you know
absolutely.
so that's why I asked this, is can you see the change, can you see the shift um with the new generation, because they were in college, if you think
Yeah,
about it.
absolutely. They were
And
definitely in college. Yeah. I would say I definitely can see the change. I don't think it's changed as extreme as like they may perceive.
Mhm.
I just
Well, and you know what, too? The workplace and college are two different things.
yes.
So what was probably happening in college, the university, however they did it, is probably completely different than how the workplace did it, right? Because we still have to come in and
Right.
to some extent, because and still contribute and
Absolutely.
add value to some extent. So That's interesting. I was wondering about that because I was looking at my son and I said, is this the new generation? Because this
Right.
is not
Yeah. I mean,
him.
I think it is more relaxed than it was certainly when I was coming up, but I still don't think it's there yet.
Understood. Understood. So what's the best advice you ever received?
Always continue learning and growing. That's the best research. I will say I can feel like sometimes I get comfortable, like, oh, I've been here 20 something years. You know, I don't need to do this, so I don't need to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
then things change in the background. um, things shift and then I don't ever want to be left behind. So I'm always trying to make sure I'm current for not just myself, but also for staff. If they have questions, I can help them out. Like I'm not getting left behind. But just just trying to keep my mind sharp, always trying to learn something new and
Mm-hmm.
different. They have a lot of free courses in LinkedIn and different
Wait a minute, you're
places
doing
that
all of that? You do that?
I listen, I don't do it all the time. I feel like I
Mm.
need to do something to make sure, I'm not doing that. But I also teach courses through Moores, so that helps as well. So I
Yeah.
have to stay current because I do
Yeah.
that. But that is what helps. I can definitely see myself going home and relaxing and watching TV and not doing anything else. And
Mm-hmm.
then, like a year later, I'm too comfortable. And then it's harder to get back into
That's true.
wanting to learn something new. And so I try to force myself to do that, just to make sure I can keep up with it. So that's the best advice I have received because I mean I think my last masters I was like, all right, I got kids, I got family, I'm good. I don't have to do nothing else. Go to work and I'm okay. And then something else comes out. I think it's like MBSE came out, and I'm like, holy crap, I need to know what that is. Like, so it was certainly a lesson for me. So now I just try to stay on top of it. So,
You did not say MBSE.
yeah, yeah,
Modeling-based systems engineering, y'all.
yes,
Just go look it
yeah,
up. You don't know. It's a whole nother world. That's a
right.
whole other world.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I got my master's in system engineering. I'm good. I'm like, what? This? So
You
yes,
have to
that was
know what we're talking about the lab. Anybody that's watching this, you're laughing because you understand what we're saying. You understand what we're saying. This is
yeah.
funny. Um, Engineers, it's an engineer joke. Well,
Yes.
so here we were having a debate about by being an engineer, you could pretty much do anything except be a doctor, right? Well, no,
Right.
because if you want to go to school, you have a baseline. What do you think about that? This is like the huge debate that getting a degree in engineering positions you where you can pretty
Absolutely.
much do anything you want to do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm certainly biased. I 100% agree with you. I think that foundation is the
Yes.
foundation for pretty much anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I really do think that that is the case. Because it really just teaches you sort of how to problem solve and how to tackle problems and how to, you know, deal with just certain things. And so I really think that foundation is the basis for pretty much any direction you want to go in.
Yeah. I tell people that like if you get an engineering degree, you pretty much have positioned yourself, even if you decide that you don't want to do engineering,
Absolutely.
but you position yourself to do whatever it is you want to do outside of engineering.
Yeah.
Period.
100% agree.
So is there anything else that you would like for our listeners to know before we conclude?
I don't know. I mean, I really I appreciate you and the opportunity that you give and all this sort of advice and the encouragement. And certainly appreciate what you do because this is what we need as a community. We need more women to who are in leadership positions who can be that representation and encourage other people to go into this area of study. So um, yeah, I don't think I have anything else to share, but I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity.
Oh. So for those of you that is listening, one thing that that I've always admired about Trena, when I was going through, this was years ago, I met, I'm trying to remember, Trena, when did we meet? I don't even know when we met.
I don't know.
But when I was going through a lot, it was this period many years ago. And I remember talking to you and was like, I know, just keep going at it. She was very encouraging for me. And this is why I think there is power in fellowship, there's power in community. Because when you think that you're at your last point and you don't see a way out, people like Trena, they're always there. And if you don't say anything, you don't get anything, but to be a light in the midst of darkness. So I just want to say thank you for all those years ago, because it was a lot happening back then, for even just continue to encourage me. And even in the midst of the pandemic, Trena, listen, Trena might seem like she's quiet, but Trena's a beast. You hear me? Because even in the midst of the pandemic, where we were working we were really having difficult conversations. You were really a voice of reason, a voice of sound, and really a voice of really saying, thinking ahead of not just where we are now, but what do we want to be known for in the future. And being in an environment like that, this is why, in my opinion, it's important on where you work. It's important on where you give people your gift so that they can receive what you have, because you're a trailblazer, and Trena is one of those. She's a trailblazer. She's a change agent. And please follow her, and reach out to her, especially for anyone who is graduating and you want to you're like, hey, I'm trying to figure out where I want to do, where I want to have my career. Reach out to her, because she has a lot of great information and could potentially point you in the right direction. So thank you for that. All right, everyone. So this is Uche Maple, again, leadership and professional development specialist. And this is the Women Who Lead community. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow, and we'll see you soon. Bye.